Pissing me off. It's all happening.
All right, we're ready to begin.
They all happened when I got through 66.
That'll be next January.
Got it on there? I'd like to introduce Francisco Meneses from the National Fire Safety Association to speak about exterior means of egress and what we should be looking at as far as making that safe. It goes by Cisco. We have a name for this question for this man and Cisco. All right?
Thank you. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to just give you, first of all, a couple of great sites that are out there that you have for information, so you can already go do a lot of this work on your own in case there's, after a good cup of coffee and a good donut, sometimes we should nod off, but I'll try to keep you entertained and keep you engaged. Any questions? So I will try to tell you what's out there, what about other cities are doing out there, and everything that we're doing, including today's meeting, is getting recorded. So in case you have people in your own office that didn't make this meeting, and you think it's an important meeting, it's being recorded. So let's start there. The National Fire Escape Association. I found it simply because I've been in this business and I was dragged into it by my dad, who's still working until the present day in the ornamental field, a little ornamental iron shop doing welding, gratings and window guards. And guess when I was 11 or 12 years old, he wanted some free volunteerism, so that's how long I've been in the fire escape. So I currently hold a master's degree in reverse stupidity, so that basically tells you that I know all the wrong ways to get around all you guys. But after a while, you also have the ability to know all the right ways to do things, and that's what I had over so many years. Normally when I teach this class in 50 states, and I'm going to show you all the states that I teach primarily fire prevention. I teach about 40 out of 50 states. It's probably all fire prevention, because they're the guys using this stuff. Then when you get into some states, it's building departments. And the building departments in some states are the ones watching this stuff, but they're not watching it enough in that the fire departments and fire prevention is complaining about it. Because, as you know, the people who are going to save people with fire escapes is going to be the firemen. So just to give it an example, how many people here are building department? Raise your hand. How many people are here are fire prevention? Or fire department, I should say. All right, so watch this, ready? So this is just in case people don't know, but a lot of times the gray-haired guys teach the young guys coming in to fight fires, and they start with one famous rule, nationwide, not just here. So let me see if if any of our fire prevention people know it. In case of fire, don't use the fire escape. Got it? So everybody in the country, every firefighter who's trained, first thing they train them is they say, listen, in case of a fire, don't use the fire escape. And that's because fire escapes are the bastard child of egress. They were built like pardon my French, a brick shit house, and they're never going to fall apart. But sadly, a fire escape built 50, 75, and even 100 years ago, guess what's happening today? Guess what state has the worst fire escape? Guess what city in Pennsylvania probably has the worst fire escape? So we have some people from all over. Do we have anybody here from Philadelphia? So I'm glad he's at the front. We can beat him severely. But we want some leadership to happen, and we're going to say some of the things that we've done there. But we also, anybody here from Pittsburgh? They're not doing anything over there either. Let's talk about some local municipalities. We've been getting a few calls lately from Easton. Anybody here from Easton? About Upper Darby? I think we met somebody here from Upper Darby. Wow, look at all these people. So we did a few inspections up at Upper Darby. So our job today is just basically to show you what everybody does. Not just the inspectors. We'll talk about vendors. We'll talk about city officials. We'll talk about painters. We'll talk about everybody. So the first place you want to always get a lot of your information, go to, write some of this stuff down, nationalfireescapeassociation.org, seminars nationwide, All right, there's a lot of great information. Everything is free. You don't have to sign in, but you can get documentation. You can get clarification. You can get a lot of stuff here, including load testing information. It's all here. And all you need to do is click on Seminars Nationwide, and what that does, that basically shows you seminars. I've taught from Seattle to San Diego, and I was brought into Seattle first, believe it or not, for what reason? Because they were proactive or because somebody fell? So the second, I've taught from Chicago to Texas because somebody is proactive or somebody fell. And I've taught from Maine to Florida, and I'm out of Massachusetts. So if anybody wants to hear it, I park my car over there by the harbor. But I teach from Maine to Florida. And what do you think is the reason why Massachusetts changed their code in '73? Look on the back of your book. It's a very famous photo, won a Pulitzer Prize, because out of the fourth story, that fireman saved his life with one hand by grabbing the ladder. The woman and her niece fell. The niece fell on the woman. All the rest of the iron fire escape fell on the woman, and she died. Prior to that, it was all fire escapes must be maintained at all times. Was there a 5-year rule back then? Nope. Is there a 5-year rule today? Yep. Is anybody aware that the IFC in 2012 stated under 1104 that all fire escapes in the entire U.S. now must be inspected every 5 years? No? That's there. We're going to show you. So imagine how long it took until 2012. No fire escape in the U.S. unless there was something locally happening was forced to prove itself every 5 years. How about extinguishers? Did they wait till 2012 to check every extinguisher, every exit sign, every sprinkler? So in fire protection, where fire escapes are at, we're the bastard child of fire protection. We don't get a tag, we don't get inspected, and when inspectors walk by fire escape, do they look up or they look down? They look down. They say, your fire escape looks good, not blowing on my head, and they keep walking. So, please, go to the National Fire Escape Association, click on the seminars, and you're going to see seminars. These are all seminars, all over the country. Oh, I've also taught 2 classes at Penbuck already. Did anybody give you a link? 2 classes already taught. After the collapse of that fire escape in Philadelphia, everybody was calling us for an inspection because 3 people fell 40 feet down in the old part of Philadelphia. Old City. 1 died. We'll cover that story today. So this is one way to get it here, right? A second way to get it is the National Fire Escape has a YouTube channel. So these are all the classes we've taught nationwide. You don't have to go in and sign up or do anything. You can click. If you want to know, I just did Houston 2 weeks ago. We finished doing an inspection on a 29-story fire escape system there. But if you want to go here, this is us doing a class for them. Samboa, Portland, Oregon. They're the model city. They're the model city. If you want to copy a model city, you want to go to Portland, Oregon. I've been working with them for 10 years. So the thing that you're about to talk about today is that if we're going to implement the system, it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to get it implemented. Because everybody's going to fight it. Especially people who have to finally fix their fire escapes. They're going to fight it. But it's got to be grassroots. It's got to be from the bottom up because it's not going to happen from the top down. Too many politics. The politics are on the top down, but from the bottom up, and it's a live safety concern. So let's look at all the cities that we've done. NFEAorg seminars, Salt Lake City, Atlantic City. My best state is Jersey and Portland, Oregon. So let's look at this, Central Virginia. Let's keep going down, Portland and New Hampshire, New Jersey. There's a lot of New Jersey here. Southern California, Seattle, Philadelphia. Oh, Philadelphia. I did a seminar for them 6 months for the Liberty chapter. Okay? 6 months before the fatality. You know what I told them that I'm going to tell you today? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when your fire escape will claim a life. Okay? And it will claim a life. And when it claims a life, guess who gets fingers pointed at them? Guess who's going to try to control it right away and get this under control? The city council. So here's an example of something that happened in Philadelphia. and I don't want to point you out, but you are the leaders of this, this area, this thing. You got to lead by example. And what we have here is, I think you're gonna like, and you guys can watch it. It's all online. And we're going to try to avoid this starting today, because the only thing you have to do today, we don't have to have a task force. What you have to have is a checklist. Do we have a checklist for sprinkler systems?
Yes.
Before you can, do you have a checklist for smoke detectors? Do you have a checklist for lead paint? Do you have a checklist for mold? Do you have a checklist for before you would let people get back into a building? Do you have a checklist that lets people into a building? Just add this to the checklist. So we're not going to create a fire escape program. We're basically creating a safe structures initiative where fire escape safety, okay, the fire escape must be proven before you can work on the building, before you can occupy the building. And you're not ordering any inspections. You're asking for a copy of the certificate. So we're going to cover that. But this is the one you want to watch. April 11, joint hearing on public safety. And you may know who that is. The gentleman that's the president of the council. Great story here. You know how I found out about this meeting? And it's 2 hours or something, recorded by their channels. You'll love it in that the council brought in the commissioner, the fire marshal, the fire chief, and a lot of the different people that basically say they were going to do something about it, because obviously there's no codes, there's no laws out there to deal with fire escapes. I found out because there was an association of building owners asking me, is there anything they can do to stop this thing from happening? Because they didn't want the extra cost of inspections. Not knowing she was giving me the heads up, it was a woman. Not knowing she was giving me the heads up to do exactly the contrary. But the thing is that when I got there, I wasn't on the agenda. I had to sneak myself into the agenda while it was going on, while they were talking about bringing things back like knotted ropes, while bringing back ordinances in the city, forcing the fire departments and the building departments to do their job because you guys are not doing your job. And they didn't know if there was any codes out there. So when I finally spoke up on it, I basically brought it up. So this is what happens when somebody's dead on the ground. They're going to blame you, and a council is going to try to fix it by using some form of ordinance to basically make it happen. And that's the fix. So the one thing we're going to tell you is that you don't want to get it this far. Fire escapes will take lives. They'll take tenants, firemen. They'll never take the landlords. The landlords don't collect rent through the fire escapes. That was a good ordinance you guys could put out, that all landlords must collect their rent through the fire escape. Things will be immediately fixed. So guys, it's here, it's free, you can watch that. Write this down. Go to Portland. City of Portland, Oregon, they have a page called Fire Escape Issues. So just on any Google search, do fire escape issues, Portland, Oregon, and they have everything here. They even have the documents that you want to use. Everything's here. Fire escape issues. You click on there, they have documents you can just download. Just take them. Okay? All right, let's throw one more. If you want to, so Portland's a great state to call. I'll give you, Stu White is a good name. He's the fire prevention leader that I've been working with for 10 years. And they modified the state code to reflect this requirement. So they're the leaders in the state, in Portland, Oregon, in the country, I should say. You want another one to copy? Go to Los Angeles, Reg 4. All fire prevention in Reg 4 is under the control of LA Reg 4. I have to pay $1,000 to get a license. I have to renew my license every 3 years. I have to go through this rigorous training and testing to make sure that I'm qualified. LA Reg 4, LAFD.org, and go to Reg 4 on their page. And they have documents you can just copy straight off the book. They have fire escape checklists, and that's what you have in front of you. You have the latest, greatest checklist put out by the National Fire Escape Association. There was no checklists 10 years ago. There was no checklists of any great quantity 5 years ago. There's still no great checklists today, but a lot of the questions you see in Seattle, which is my first conference step, an actual checklist. No more opinions. Yes, no questions. That's what we're going to cover today. So go to LA Reg 4, and here's the last one. please write this one down. The National Fire Escape Association puts out fireescapesphiladelphia.com. It puts out fireescapesnj.com. It puts out fireescapesboston.com. It puts out fireescapeschicago.com. It puts out any major city that we are currently working in or inspecting in. We create the exact same web page for everybody. Everybody gets the same web page. So what can you, this is made for you, you don't have to log in or do anything, but you have a vendor that has a question, you can answer it here. If you have an inspector that has a question, such as a structural engineer or others acceptable to the building official, it's answered here. So let's, we're going to cover all this today. There's the codes. You can link in, it'll get you to the codes. But more important, it talks about the national codes. Everybody aware that 2012 IFC 1104.16? Every 5 years now. So if you haven't adopted the 2012, it's already here. And the code states that the maintenance of fire escapes now, if you look at the 2012 IBC and the 2012 IFC, IFC's got this examination going on every 5 years. When you look at the IFC building code, the IBC, you know what it says? CIFC. Okay? Now, that's prior to amendments, because some cities say, no, we want that back, we want to keep it, just so you guys know. The IBC in Massachusetts is 1101.3. It's the same, it states the same thing, all fire escapes shall be examined and or tested. We're going to talk about tested, what that word means. We're going to talk about load test, because you can actually see a load test. NFEA, you may not know this, but in case you need to pull NFEA, write this code down. 101, 7.2862. The authority having jurisdiction, you guys shall approve any fire escape by load test or other evidence of strength. Well, we need to talk about what's other evidence of strength. Because there's an or in here somewhere. It's not both, it says either or. So we have to really get you an explanation of what the other is, so that we're not just forcing load tests on these very old buildings, right? Here's a great one you didn't know one. OSHA 1910.37. So if you need to pull OSHA to shut down a building, what did it say? Exit route must be maintained during construction, repairs, alterations, or permanent alternative, or provide alternative egress with equivalent level of safety. What's that mean? That means if I'm pulling a permit to do some work on a building that's going to continue to be occupied, or I'm gutting an entire building, and that building is an old 50, 75, 100-year-old building and it has a fire escape, what's the first thing I got to fix on that before I gut the building? Now, we don't want to stop progress because, if somebody has a fire escape that needs $100, $200, or $300,000 worth of work, what's the equivalent alternative? Scaffolding. So you put up scaffolding, which is $1,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month, whatever it's going to be, and guess what they have? They have an equivalent alternative egress that the fire department and the building department agrees. So if there's occupants in the building, they're going to put scaffolding that is 3 feet wide, 7-Eleven rides and run, rails and all. If it's just a construction site, what are they going to put on? Construction style fire escape scaffolding system there. And that means they're going to mothball the fire escape because they're going to fix it last now, right? And then they block all access to that fire escape. So that way, in case firemen show up during a fire, how many fires happen during construction? So now you got alternative means. So what's that mean? In the permit process, you know how in the permit process, it's not just a check that doesn't get you to permit. What else is needed? Plans, construction control documents, you got a checklist, right? Guess what gets added now to your permit process? Provide me that you have, add the permit process, that you have a certificate on your fire escape before you continue to start working. There's a checklist. Everything's a checklist. Smoke detector sign-offs. You're about to let people occupy a building. You come in, say, beautiful building, beautiful job, beautiful smoke detectors. Where's your second means of egress? Is it inside or outside? Oh, it's outside. Great. I just need a copy of the certificate. No, let's go look at it. I don't want to look at it. I want a certificate. And they say, I don't got one. So what do? You stop them from occupying the building? No, because then the mayor's going to come at you. There's all kinds of noise going to come at you. But you say, you know what? Let me get you going. Here you go. I'll let these people in, but I need in 3 days. I need a certificate. Otherwise, I'm coming back to shut down your building that I'm letting you occupy. So you don't stop the money train. Somebody fills out an application for a permit and they don't have that certificate for the fire escape. Do you stop the application process? You better not. Just keep it going. But what do you ask immediately now? Say, within 3 days, I need I need that certificate here because I'm going to do an inspection. He goes, well, the fire escape's a mess. Well, great, then shut it all down, block it all off, and put in some scaffolding. That means that I'm going to be okay with, and also the fire marshal's going to come down and make sure he's okay with it. And what keeps flowing? The money keeps flowing. Okay? So, again, you can see, if you don't want to go to Firescapes Philadelphia, you can go to Firescapes NJ, same exact site, okay? Steps, 5 steps to certify. Schedule an examination by a design professional, others acceptable to the city official. We're going to talk about that. Said person will confirm that the fire escape is good or it needs load testing. Submit a report. How many people here have ever gotten a failed report on a fire escape? What do you guys get? A failed one? Or you got a report because it passed and some document showed up that says, with that beautiful parachute on, the golden parachute at the bottom, it says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with the code for Philadelphia or for Pennsylvania, which is what? The golden parachute. And in case something happens a week or 3 months later, what's that engineer liable for? He gave an opinion. You didn't load test it. But on here, this is 25 questions you can't have an opinion. It's yes, no. Is there any rust inside the connection? This is not surface rust questions. This is internal. And it asks that crazy question into the building. How did you verify it into the building? Through a visual examination, the inside and the outside connection into the building, which is what happened in that failure at the downtown. It was the through bolt blew out. I know this, I was the expert witness on the case, which has since settled. And out of all the people that went to that meeting, you know who called me? Nobody. Except the lawyer. Right? And I was the expert witness on that case. I got to investigate that case. But this is 25 questions that's going to scare a lot of design professionals. No more opinions over here. They're getting paid to walk and verify that all 25 specific connections on the fire escape have been verified with a yes or no. And at the end, do they wish to load test it? Or are they going to provide you alternative that says, I have other evidence of strength to prove to you so that we don't have to load test this fire escape? That's what this is going to be. So a lot of guys will not do this. Yes, question.
A quick question. What are jurisdictions accepting as far as certified engineers evaluating these escapes? Because in Pennsylvania, we can only accept a Pennsylvania design professional.
True.
Yeah.
The code stated right there, design professional or others acceptable. I will explain today design professional, which means if he's registered in your state and he's an architect or an engineer, regardless of if he's got a PE, you're going to have to take it. You may say, but I'm going to show you that you have the load test. As soon as you get a landscape architect, trying to sign off on a fire escape, you can pull out the load test. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna make you experts on what is somebody that's qualified.
So most jurisdictions are accepting a design professional.
Yeah,
they're not accepting a company
it.
that says we're going to certify this as, like if you had your company come out, you guys are qualified individuals.
Yeah, I'm another actually. I'll show you where the code says that we're another. But it doesn't mean you have to accept us.
But I'm asking, do most jurisdictions accept something like that?
Okay,
that
so
you deal with, or that you
that's a great question. And so to help what you guys had as a meeting this year, how many calls do you think I get from Pennsylvania in its entirety compared to the rest of the country? When's the last time somebody inspected a fire escape in their area or had a fire escape issue in their area? In the past year? 1, 2? You guys understand? It's the bastard child of egress. You inspect it by looking at your feet. How's that fire escape? Pretty good. Okay, all right. Paint it. A lot of people, one of the biggest reasons why fire escapes for 50 to 75 years have been neglected is because you write the wrong wording on a violation. You write scrape and paint your fire escape, as opposed to examine, repair, and certify your fire escape. As soon as you write that down, that's your violation. Have it examined, have it repaired if necessary, and have it certified by load test or other evidence of strength. That's why you write in the violation. Don't point out a tread, don't point out a loose bolt, don't point out anything. You do, they will fix that one thing and it'll be done. And then they're going to paint it and get it nice and tacky and wet, even before anybody can examine it, And that's when they invite you to come back and look at it. Would you like to walk through the just freshly painted fire escape that's, you know, got tacky paint all over the place? All right, so down here, some examples of fire escapes that do pass. There's some videos you can watch. Here's some fire escapes. This is a commercial fire escape that failed in Y, and here's a residential fire escape that failed in Y. So you're going to see just what is typically a fail on a fire escape. And a lot of it is pretty much the same thing. Structurally, internal rust fails a fire escape. As soon as the fire escape is nice and tight internally, and we got surface rust, we've got a failure, but it's a maintenance failure. And as soon as the owner and his buddies get together, they throw paint on that, because we verified that the structure is fine, guess what you have? You have a certified fire escape. Now, are we going to conclude with a load test or other evidence of strength? We're going to cover that today. So that's there. At the bottom, this is an example of the confidence test filled out. And you get the first 3 pages. So if you pass, this is 6 pages long. You only get the first 3 pages. You've answered the 25 questions. They must seal it, and a lot of times they must deliver it, and you have to accept it. You have to sign it also as a city official. No longer to just come in the mail and somehow magically it gets into a folder. You must sign on it, saying, I'm accepting this. So we need some double check processes happening here. So because you've written scrape and paint violations your entire life, do I need a permit to paint a fire escape? So you guys basically opened the door so that everybody for 75 years just threw paint on a fire escape. And if you do that long enough, what happens is you got a pretty black fire escape that's going to do what to a tenant and a fireman? It's going to kill them. All right, so the second one is if you got a failure, we're supposed to fill out all the pages and give you back photographs, because you don't have time to go down there and look at this thing. And then if it needs engineer oversight. Engineer oversight, what is that? That means you're hiring a guy that knows what to do to handhold the hand of a local ornamental iron worker, a local welding guy, which by the way, the EPA says you can't weld on fire escapes anymore because they have what on for paint? Lead paint, thank God, finally, right? And he basically has 3 visits. He shows up the day they start working, with or without a permit. With permit, right? Otherwise, now that just adds one more layer of oversight, right? And then there's a mid-visit, and then there's a final visit. Okay? And basically now at the end when there's a final visit, it's called a final, and that structural engineer or others acceptable to you wants to hand it to you. Do you accept it at the desk? Or like a final, do you want to go there and show up and say, let me see the final? And you may invite, depending which is the authority having jurisdiction, you may invite the fire prevention. It may be a double signature. Hey, I'm going to go take a look at it and sign off, and you want the engineer to be there, not the engineer's friend, not the engineer's vendor, and do what? Walk it through and say, hey, this is a bulletproof fire escape right now. And fire prevention wants to see the same thing. That way they can start getting onto it. So that's the bottom of this page, and every page in the U.S. is built. It's a single page. Anybody know what a fire escape load test looks like? No? Well, click on here. We're going to demystify. We're going to show you what a load test. There's a page called Fire Escape Load Test. And guess what its job is to do? Its job is to show you what a load test is. Can we load test with sandbags? Yes. Can we load test with water bags? Yes. Can we load test with cables? Yes. Well, why don't you see one in action? That way when somebody says, nobody's load testing, what do you say? Go to this page and you'll see what load tests look like. Is it dangerous? Is it the camel, the straw that broke the camel's back? So that's why we don't load test crap. But if a fire escape has been fully refurbished or partially refurbished and all the remaining 50 to 75-year hardware is in excellent condition, do you think I have confidence load testing it? So here's load testing, including a video. All right, so if you want to see load testing, so back to the website. Does anybody know that fire escapes have issues, and there's fatalities? You guys want to see the horror show? Click on this side. And what's this page? This page is a lawyer's page. And basically what do you have there? It says that if you fall down a fire escape that's not been properly maintained, does the insurance company have to honor that claim if you haven't maintained your fire escape? And if you go down, it's got nothing but stories all over the country. This one just happened in New Jersey. A tenant goes out the door to get away from a smoky situation, and when you watch the video on this, it's great. He fell through 2 sets of stairs like that. You know how rotten your stairs have to be for you to fall through 2 flights of rotten stairs and survive? His first call was to, and then he asked his lawyer to call who? Call an ambulance? I'm really hurt. He goes, make sure somebody takes some photos. So that's there for you guys to do, okay? And then on the same webpage, guys, when you go back up to the very top, there's a blank version of this form. So if you've got an engineer who wants to give you a single page opinion letter, what do you say? Fill this out. Click that. He goes, I'm not going to fill that out. That's not a state-sponsored, state-sanctioned, state this and state that. So what do you say? Read those questions, transfer them onto your letterhead, and answer every one of these questions on your own letterhead. Now what have you just done? You've taken a standardization of the industry and said, these are just very good questions that I think I would want to know, because I want to know whether I'm going to load test your fire escape or whether you're going to provide me with other evidence of strength. If you fill this out, we may not be looking at a load test because you're going to provide me with other evidence of strength. And what is that? Other evidence of strength is very easily answered. Other evidence of strength is if I take every fastener out of your fire escape, and I do that every 25 to 35 years, because isn't that what people do to their buildings, change their electric out every 25 to 35 years? Their boilers every 25 to 35 years? Their plumbing every 25 to 35 years on average? Well, the fire escape should be having all those fasteners. Once you do all the outside fasteners, and you caulk it with 50-year silicone that's paintable, is that getting close to other evidence of strength for you so far? How about that magical connection that they have in Wonderland, which is between the outside fire escape through this building that could be 8, 12, 18 inches thick? Is that a concern of yours? Well, that's why they load test it. They want to load test the unknown. Or can we leave this, let sleeping dogs lie on 50, 75, 100-year-old structures and just make a brand new connection, keep the original? Make a brand new connection, which is just a simple 3/4 hole, and you put in the epoxy bolt, 8 to 12 inches deep, or another through bolt all the way through with another plate inside. Are you happy with that? Have I eliminated the concern of the wall for you? Oh, by the way, the structural engineer is going to stamp it and sign it and fill out this form. Is that enough other evidence of strength for you so you can eliminate the load test? Got it? So that's what we're going to prove today. We have to prove that to you today because the law says you load test or other evidence of strength. But we're going to prove it to you today so you're very, very confident. And whenever you have anybody that's giving you trouble, what page you want to bring them to? Say, dude, where are you from? I'm from New Jersey, inspecting Pennsylvania. Great. Go to firescapes.j.com, go to firescapesphiladelphia.com, go to Firescape. It's all the same page. You guys got it? So when you click on that, actually print out a blank. There's no header on the top. It's just a blank with the very same confidence test. Okay? And when you look at the very top right, when you click on that, it actually opens up the National Fire Escape Association. So if you get nothing out of today's class, is there information out there for code officials, for fire and building, for them to self-train? Okay? And is there other classes that are being held for the past 10 years for you to sort of catch up? So you can either have one of these classes. My average class I taught through Kane University, the entire state of New Jersey, 6 hours long. Usually bring in dancers, you know, dim lights and stuff. But 6 hours. So if you need additional credits, this is a 6-hour course. So I'm about to give you the technical version of my class. And it's rapid fire. I got to go boom, 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 because it's only 2 hours. So a lot of our classes that are 6 hours long, we have a morning meeting for about 3 to 4 hours, lunch break, and in the afternoon, we either watch videos in the afternoon and get more technical, or we leave this place and we go to downtown and we inspect fire escapes. So that's why if I send you the link, the best one that I can send you, if you ask for it, otherwise you can do a quick search for it on the playlist. I'll definitely send you the committee one if you want. Portland, they're the model city. 37 videos. So if you click on that, What is that? That's the seminar that I just held in April. And you know what they have in it? And they, again, we've been doing this for 10 years. In that class, you know what we have? Fire prevention, building departments, structural engineers, registered architects, vendors, painters, they're all invited into this class. And as soon as we're done, you know where we go? We do downtown walk around. That's us downtown walking around and just plucking fire escapes that have been already done, already inspected, and we got everybody there. Say, hey, was it done right? Was it done wrong? It's called the downtown walk around. So this is a good one to basically get the opinion of architects, engineers, vendors. Oh, is that a fire escape? Is that a training center? A fire training tower? Yeah, remember the training towers are in bad disrepair that have the fire escape on them? So we inspect for free a lot of these training towers, basically because they're very dangerous in some cases. Treads are falling, and imagine a trainee getting hurt on a fire escape at a training center. So, but this is probably the greatest video collection, is this one, because they keep bringing me back every year. As a matter of fact, we just awarded him this year, Stu White, from the National Fire Escape Association, an award for basically making a difference in the nation. And he and I have known each other for 10 years. Yeah, Stu White, fire prevention. So he's the guy you want to sort of pick and say, what problems did you have? Because he's had every problem in the book. So the present day, it's not gonna change overnight, but you know what? It starts small. So get ready for a 3 to 5 year program, but just put it to your checklist. It'll grow organically. And when you get the noise from the politicals that say, hey, what are you doing? What's this crazy life safety stuff you're doing? Why are you saving tenants and firemen? Stop that, back off a little bit. You're like, what? Stop killing babies and don't care about firemen? That doesn't go very well. Okay? You guys ready for the class? So let's open it up for questions. Just there alone. You take nothing, you just take the fact that this is out there ready for you to self-educate. You don't really need to hang on this class anymore. This is it. But otherwise, this is where you get one-on-one interaction, and we're actually going to do a quick little class there. Questions, please. Yes.
Fire escape required to be covered in some way, shape, or form under the code?
Perfect question. So, a fire escape and a means of egress. So a fire escape is usually 2 feet wide, 8 and 8 rise and run, stuck on a fire escape, usually picking up something on a building. If it's an egress, that means now there's doors on the back of your building, everybody parks in the parking lot in the back, and now it's going to be 3 feet wide, 7, 11 rise and run. It's got to have a kick plate, and it's got to have a cover. Egress, fire escape. So in some cases, some of these older buildings, they basically have, they're converting a mansion, one more apartment is coming up there. You can use a fire escape. And that today's code says that fire escape can't come out a window, it must become a door, no ladders. So let's clarify the code immediately. Can I build a new fire escape today? No. And that's a correct statement. I cannot build a new fire escape today on new construction. Same question. Can I build a new fire escape on an existing building, pre-existing building? Yes. Oh, I can build new fire escapes till the cows come home. Why? Because on a pre-existing building, you have sometimes some very strange staircases, a central stair on a mansion going this way, and then there's a wing here and a wing there. They want to make 4 condos. Can I add fire escapes to add value and not tear that mansion down? Because they're trying to, somebody misreads the law, says you can't do fire escapes, right? And what happens is inside there, they want you to put a staircase on that other wing and another staircase internal, which is giving up valuable real estate. What happens to the project? It goes down. What happens to the building? It comes down. What happens to the lot? It turns into a parking lot. But you can build fire escapes on anything, barns, institutions, factories, and you can use fire escape as once you've exhausted all possibilities of doing the staircases inside, it's outside. Yes?
Every picture that you show me, these fire escapes are all attached to buildings. Why can't they be a freestanding structure? In other words, they're all attached in some shape or form to the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you, like you build a deck, you have 4 piers, and you build on that, you have 4 more piers, why can't they just take I guess, a steel beam or a series of steel beams, set them in the ground and build on top and build your platforms or weld your platform to that, so that, because my idea is if the building is, if the fire is as strong as that picture is showing, that brick wall could give, and that whole structure could, the whole escape could fall, could it not? Because it's attached to the building in a freestanding structure. Regardless of what happens to that building, that fire escape's going to stand till the steel gets so hot that it can't withstand it. Then you should be gone.
And you just answered your own question.
It's not cost effective, maybe.
Right.
That's part of the problem.
No, so we already have a huge stock in the U.S. of existing fire escapes. That's 95% of everything I look at. New fire escapes, it only makes up 5%. So they're not building new fire escapes as much as you might think. So everything is really maintenance of old stock. Okay. Now let's talk about the 100 pounds per square foot load test. Okay. Because we just did this in Portland, Oregon, who made a mistake during their code. They actually wanted you to load test it to 200 pounds per square foot. And it was a technical mistake because the safety factor of 2 is already built into 100. Somebody misunderstood that, and we wrote an article on that with a structural engineer. You know from what state? Pennsylvania. John stopped by. He's actually he works as also a code official too. He wasn't able to come here today, but basically, when you go to 200 pounds per square foot, what happens is now you're overloading these walls, which were never rated for that. But let me tell you how safe 100 pounds per square foot is. So when you're looking at this, let me just answer your question. When you put the steel into the pocket of a wall, that wall is a leg. And if I have a leg on the outside, all the way to the ground, so the steel to the ground is a leg, your building is my other leg. So they have been building it that way with legs to the ground. On these that are coming out of the building, a lot of these are pocketed 8 to 12 inches deep, so the steel just doesn't go into the veneer. The steel goes through the veneer and then 8 to 12 inches deep in the 2 to 3 courses of brick behind there. The next one, mainly for residential buildings, is the 3/4 through bolt, where all of a sudden now there's a through bolt that goes all the way and there's a plate on the inside and then a nut on the outside. And so what happened in Philadelphia was that through bolt rotted out. So a properly maintained fire escape will never fall to the ground. If the building collapses, the wall collapses, and you're on that fire escape, you shouldn't be there. By the time a building collapses from a fire, it's already too late. So that's why they don't build, but there's lots of fire escapes built exactly like you said. An older building, they'll put legs along the whole length of the building to the ground, on piers, legs outside, on piers, and they'll build a platform. So that happens now based on the structure itself. But by the time a building collapses, you're not going to be there, having a cold glass of water if the building behind you collapses. But it is a safety concern because you're supposed to self-egress out, and firemen use it to get into your building. But when all hell breaks loose for them, guess what they use? They use the same fire escape, and that's what this picture on the back is all about. That fireman was out, trying to get out, saying, hey, I can't stay here anymore. And that's why firemen, whenever they keep getting hurt on these rails, they give way and they get hurt. This is what happens. So let's confirm. Let's look at that picture right there. I'll take any picture. Look at that major fire that's happening there. This is probably a better one here. And let's start I'm going to start rapid firing into slide. You guys are going to love the, make sure that this thing is, there you go. We're going to talk about a 5x5 platform. 5 times 5 is 25 times 100 is how many pounds? 2,500 pounds on a typical 5x5. Is that a typical 5x5? Let's say, if I get my cursor. You see the guys at the very top? Is that a 5x5 platform? Well, let's just assume it was let's take a look at a 5x5 platform. It can take up to 2,500 pounds, attached to the building, 2,500 pounds. Now, let's say we got tenants in the building. I got 150-pound tenants in my building, and I get 10 of them out there. I bring 10 out, there's a fire, they're waiting to be rescued, and there's 10 firemen, 10 150-pound people in a 5x5 square. Is it possible? All right? So let's get them out of the way, because somehow they were there, and we bring in some firefighters who weigh 200 pounds, plus 100 pounds of gear, and they each weigh 300 pounds. We're gonna bring only 5 of those guys. So 5 300-pound firemen with all that gear, can they fit in a 5x5 square? So fire escapes are built with a safety factor of 2. What that means is that you can fill the entire fire escape full of people, like we're doing here, and it is designed to never come off the ground, because you would need to bring an elephant out of your house to basically meet the code. So today, the 100 pounds per square foot requirement means that you need to be 2 foot square, you need to be 10 feet tall, and you need to have, you have to be anywhere from 500 to 600 pounds per person, and occupy every square inch of a fire escape for you to meet the code of what it's rated for. You're not even exceeding the rating yet. So fire escapes were designed and built to the present day. So in the 1900s, it was 100 pounds per square foot. Today, it's still 100 pounds per square foot. And you have to be 10 feet tall, 2 feet square, and you have to weigh 500 to 600 pounds. So it's mathematically impossible. So when somebody says there was a party on the fire escape, that's why it fell. There was firemen on, it was overloaded. Never can happen. You can never overload a fire escape. So that's why the statement is correct. A properly maintained fire escape will never give way. You can have a building collapse, and the fire escape is on the ground with dead people and chunks of the building. Now what happened? The fire escape failed or the building failed? The building failed. So let's rock and roll. Let's. All right. So look at the back. City of Seattle was the first one to come out. Go to the back pages. That's called tags. Every fire escape must have a tag. Every elevator in this building have a tag. Every fire alarm, every smoke extinguisher have a tag. Every sprinkler system have a tag. Fire protection, we're the bastard child of egress. Do we have a tag? No. But does Portland have a tag for it? Yes. Does Seattle have a tag? This is what their tag says. So if the fire escape is all right, you're going to put a white tag 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently affixed to the fire escape, that has the names of who inspected it and the next date of inspection. How useful is that going to be for building inspectors, fire inspectors, housing, health inspectors, owners, tenants? So tag the fire escape. And by the way, in your fire code, it already states that all fire protection equipment must have a tag. It's already there. Has it made its way to some of the things? No, so because it's the bastard child of egress. So it already exists, just copy. Okay? So all fire protection equipment must have a tag, and all fire escape assembly equipment, systems. You know what a system is? A fire escape is a system. And we're going to cover that animal later on. All exterior steel and wooden stairs. Is that part of the fire protection system? All exterior steel or wooden stairs. Is that part of a fire protection system? And must it be examined? Have I mentioned fire escapes yet? So how many residential buildings with these wooden monstrosities on the back that is both a porch to hold bikes, hold cans, and it has all these wooden stairs all crooked, are never being inspected? But are they an exterior steel or wooden stair? And are they part of the fire protection system? Meaning it's a part of your egress out and egress in for firemen? Must it have a tag and must it be inspected? Yeah. Have I mentioned fire escapes yet? No. As a matter of fact, if you look on this page on the front, look at what the Massachusetts Building Code says. Right down here at page 1 at the bottom. This is the IBC. All exterior bridges. Have I mentioned fire escapes? Bridges, those are those things hanging out on the backs of what do you call it? That connect one apartment to the next apartment. They call them decks, but it's a bridge, right? Isn't it an area of refuge? And steel or wooden stairways. Have I mentioned fire escapes yet? All exterior steel or wooden stairways, subject to maintenance. Is that subject to this code? Fire escapes and egress balconies. What are those? What's an egress balcony? Is that an area of refuge? And it's outside, and it gets snow, and it gets salt, and it gets chemicals thrown on it to melt the snow? Shall be examined and or tested and certified for circular adequacy every 5 years by a registered design professional, others acceptable to the building official. So let's get all the fire escapes tagged. Fire department, is it true that every fire protection system needs a tag? It's a code already, right? It's a law. It already exists. We'd have to make a new ordinance. It's a fire department requirement that every egress system, every fire protection system, that's why they tag. That's why you have to tag your extinguishers, and that's why you got to tag your fire escape. For whose benefit? Their benefit. Because when a fireman is running down an alleyway and it's smoky and it's getting to a very dangerous situation, and he's got in the back of his ears in case of fire, don't use the fire escape, what's he going to do for the next 3 to 5 minutes? He's going to run back to his truck and get what? A ladder. To do what? To get up there and get people and do what? Fight the fire, or is it a rescue mission?